What's going on, y'all? Jordan, latest episode of Lightning Latest. Got a couple things we're going to be discussing today. Really excited to continue the defensive line preview. We're also talking about JJ Moser a little bit, Coop as well, as you can see, and of course, always ending, well, at least for a while, always ending with our favorite series, What If. But let's dive right into the second pair first. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be McDonough and it's going to be Chernak, right, on the left and right side. It's possible that Chernak plays the first line alongside Hetty, and then Moser takes over on the second line. I'm not a fan of that because at the moment, McDonough and Chernak, they're the shutdown pair. They're the pair that we put out there to kind of thwart any top offensive talents. Yeah, McDonough's getting older. Yeah, Chernak's still pretty solid. I don't know if he's worth the $8-9 million we pay him, but still. They're the shutdown defensive pairing. So, yeah, they'll probably switch it up sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised if Chernak's on that first pair with Hetty, but, I just would really, really prefer to see this combination stay together. I mean, we're going to be coming on preseason in about 2 weeks. So, we'll see more of this and see what happens. McDonough is slated to be an unrestricted free agent next offseason. So, there's the possibility that the Bolts will extend him during the season. It's possible. We all know that he loves playing here. He didn't want to be traded to Nashville a couple years ago when he came back. It was great. It was like he picked up right where he left off last season. So, it wouldn't be surprising to me to see them do an extension in season. It could be done not until next summer, though. Could not be done at all. He could leave. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll be talking about that as well in a few days. But really liking the McDonough Chernak play. Really can't say really enough. Cannot stress how much I am digging it. If they continue their usual level of play, it's going to be fine because they'll be able to deal with most top offensive threats. And, due to the rising cap, right? Because the cap's going to be going up. We won't have to trade Chernak like we had to trade Sergei last year, because we'll be able to afford more, especially if it hits that projected $108 million next year. So, really excited to see just how well Chernak and McDonough play together again this season. They're going to be key. We have aspirations. We have Stanley Cup aspirations. If we're going to get there, we need them to play great. But we are going to go back and talk about JJ Moser for a second. Because remember, he's going to be an RFA next year. Right? So, he could get the patented Bree-Boy bridge deal. It's entirely possible. If he plays well this year, shows progression, but doesn't really truly take that next step, then the classic bridge deal would be great. However, if he's 25, so if he plays even better, right, and explodes, and has a great season next to Hetty, the normal bridge deal is probably not gonna cut it. As long as his progression continues throughout the season, especially if he's going to play next to Hedman, right? If he's going to be on that number one line, and his job is to make sure that we, play the best game we can, especially playing next to the captain. It's going to be the best way for him to learn. As well as if he plays alongside another veteran like McDonough. But the front office will probably be pretty aggressive in extending him, if I had to take a guess. He could be a really important part of this next wave we've been talking about of Bolts talent, right? Guys like Goncalves, guys like possibly Pelletier or Holmberg, where they were brought in because they're young and they can still contribute. Connor Geeky, they're hoping as well. The goal is for Geeky, and we're going to talk about him in a few days when we talk about his prospect breakdown. But hopefully he's a top line forward, top line center. That's what they hope he's going to be. So, Geeky Moser, once again, remember, they were the key return pieces in the Sergachev deal last summer. So, it's pretty obvious that Bree-Boy and the front office want to keep those guys here long term, especially if they hit the talented threshold they're supposed to hit, right? They're supposed to be steady contributors at the NHL level. I think they both will be. I actually believe they both will be. But it's going to be interesting to see just how well he does this year. Because if it's just some solid progression, like getting there, maybe it's not going to be as big of a deal. But if it's a holy crap, wow, this kid is going to be great, we need to lock him down ASAP deal, then you can guarantee that the front office will be pretty aggressive when it comes to that. But we're actually going to discuss we're going to talk about our coach for a minute. All right, we're going to talk about Coop for a minute. Here's why. He's been the head coach since March 2013. Okay? So for those of y'all keeping track at home, that's 12 years and 6 months. Apologies. That's a long time. That's a long time for a head coach in any professional league. Doesn't matter if it's NHL, NFL, MLB, NBA, English Premier League, anything. It's a long time. You don't really see coaches in their positions for too long. I will double check and confirm in tomorrow's episode, but I believe Coop is the longest tenured head coach in the NHL at the moment. He's also the current head coach at Team Canada as well. So, as long as he's the head coach, right, the Bolts are always going to have a shot at contending for a Stanley Cup. He's that good of a coach. He knows how to develop the young talent that comes through the system. He knows how to deal with the veterans. He knows how to maximize their potential. His coaching staff has been pretty excellent to this point. He's had 2 head coaches hired off his staff, and we'll see how Dan Inote works out, too. So I'm really excited to see that. But, if we had to tear it all down tomorrow, if we had to trade away major pieces of the core and start a rebuild, Coop would stay. Coop would, I feel like he's going to be here as long as he wants to be here. As long as we continue our consistent winning ways, we continue to play good, solid hockey, fundamental hockey, or tough out, I think he's going to be here for quite a while, especially with an upcoming ownership change. Why mess with stability when you already know you have one of the best front offices and head coaches and coaching staffs in the NHL? Especially if we go on a run this year, we can get past the Panthers, we can make some noise. If we can get to the Stanley Cup, why need to? There's no need, right? He's in his 50s. He's still got quite a while ahead of him. It could be the rest of his career could be here in Tampa. He could coach till he's 65 and say, "See, I'm out." And if he's here the whole time, I'm sure we'd all love that. As long as we're winning, right? That's got to be the key. Also, getting next wave up, right? Cooch, Pointer, McDonough, Hetty, Vasi, they're not getting any younger. Yanni Gord, they're not getting any younger. Okay? We have to start focusing on who's going to carry that next wave. And I believe Coop is the best choice to coach it. Him and his staff have the ability, the experience, the know-how to do those things, to develop those young players. We've seen it time and time again. We're going to continue to see it with this season, with J.J. Moser, with Gage Goncalves, with Connor Geekie, with some of those low-cost free agent ads like Pontus Holmberg and Jacob Pelletier. I believe all of those players will take a step forward this year. This is the year we get back to truly chasing a Stanley Cup. That happens with Coop as head coach. Period. We talked about Vasi getting older, so it's going to transition into our latest what if. And that's going to be John Gibson to the Bolts. Now, for a very long time, he was with Anaheim. Now, he was the Ducks starting goaltender. It was rough on him, especially the last years when they went through a rebuild. Now he's the current number 1 in Detroit for the Red Wings. We know who runs the Red Wings. Our old buddy Stevie Y. We talked about 2 head coaches off Coop's staff. One of them, the first one was Derek Lalonde, who was the head coach of the Red Wings until last year. Got fired, unfortunately. But it happens. He's got 2 years left on his current deal, $6.4 million a season. So, first question is this. Would you want to pay him $6.4 million a year while you're paying Vasi $9 million a year, while Gibson's 32 years old and Vasi's 31? There's a number of circumstances in which that could work. I'm not sure. He's 32 years old, so he's got probably quite a few years left in him. But you could say the same for Vasi, especially if he continues to play great hockey. right? If he continues to show he's one of the best goalies in the world, a guy like Gibson might not be as needed. It would be, if we did trade for someone like him, it would be kind of like a 1A, 1B scenario, right? Where Gibson has 30 to 35 starts, Vasi plays the rest. You put Johansson at a number 3 goalie spot if we even kept Johansson. It would really strengthen our goalie position as well. Now, the high salary would be tough, especially this season. But if it happened next offseason, I'm sure we can make the numbers work. Especially if, Gibson, he's got this year, next year, Vasi has 3 more years. So, the big question is this. If he plays well in those 2 years, right? How big of a second deal do we give him at 34? So, there's a lot of ways to improve the goaltending behind Vasi. This could be one. We're going to talk about another possibility tomorrow as well, in addition to the rest of the defense core on the current roster. There's a lot going on. We're prepping for preseason. We're prepping for training camp. Really excited to continue to dive into this with you guys. This is Jordan Lightning Latest, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.